The newly rebooted DCU has its second film in theaters. Does it fly high or sink like a stone? Let's find out.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Once more unto the bridge, dear friends.
Again and again until we're both dead.
There's only like 12 stories. They change around little details, but they're all pretty much the same.
Deja vu. Something very familiar about it.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews with connection in mind. Supergirl is the second film in this newly rebooted DC universe. It is directed by Craig Gillespie and stars Millie Alcock as the titular Supergirl, aka Kara Zor-El, who is going on a bit of a birthday bender, celebrating her 23rd birthday. And when a interstellar brigand comes to crash the party and puts the life of Crypto the dog in danger, it is up to her to go and seek out the cure, as well as escort a young girl who is seeking out the same brigand for a personal revenge quest. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Supergirl, so certain other things. I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first and foremost, though, but just so you know, there will be spoilers later on in this review. So, first things first, let's get into some spoiler-free talk on Supergirl. Is this worth seeing in the theaters? Is this a good follow-up to 2025's Superman? And is this a good superhero movie in general? I would say, well, first off, I rewatched the last year's Superman going into this just to prepare myself for it. And I will say, if you are a fan of the last Superman movie, I think there's going to be stuff to enjoy in this. However, there is a significant decline, I think, in quality with regards to storytelling. And what I mean by that is the actors who are doing this are not phoning in. I can't say. I think the writing just lets a lot of these people down. But starting with the positives, I will say Millie Alcock does a great job as Supergirl. You know, she doesn't do as much heroic things. I think or rather, I will say she doesn't spend as much time in the traditional Supergirl outfit. So you might be that might disappoint some people, and she, they kind of do back and forth thing with, she's, when she's on a red sun planet, she doesn't have her powers and she's able to get drunk, where she's, when she's exposed to a yellow sun, she gets her powers and she's not able to get drunk. So they play around with that a little bit, maybe a little too much, to a certain extent, but she does a good job. And especially when you dive into the, why she's going through what she's going through certain things. She's living through the death. She lived through, well, she didn't live through the death of Krypton. She lived on, Argo, which is going through its own sort of issues, and then getting sent to Earth, to meet up with Superman, and, having to learn this world and going through that sort of thing. That's where I think she shines. I think she does a great job, conveying the emotions on that, and I think that's where the writing is strongest. Unfortunately, I don't think that, that's the majority of the script. I think the rest of it is fairly generic to just kind of escort us from action scene to action scene. And the action scenes themselves aren't terrible, but they are, again, I would say standard. And the other bright spots is sort of tempered a bit, is Jason Momoa as Lobo. And I was sort of nervous going into this, where it's like, oh, well, he's basically just going to be, Aquaman, in a new costume. And I can say he's not. He is, Lobo is very different from Aquaman, but I would say both characters are very Jason Momoa, so take of that what you will. And when he's on screen, he's fine. There's some, certainly some moments that get a chuckle out of me, but for the most part, he is written fairly generic, and I don't know if that's going to be enough to carry every audience member. It doesn't, it just barely carried me, for my part. Plus he only shows up probably around the halfway point. And even then he disappears for good chunks of that afterwards until the finale. So there's that to be had. And really, aside from that, there's not a whole lot else to there. The villain, in this, the lead brigand is very generic. I tip my hand a little bit to where to the spoiler talk. Not spoiler. This isn't spoiler, but I will say this villain is too close for comfort to Malekith from Thor: The Dark World, in that he's just evil to be evil, and that's it. That's all you need to know about him. And it's like, sure, I don't remember this guy afterwards, and that's kind of where I feel about this villain, and that really does drag things down a little bit. He's there to be evil, and the personal MacGuffin, if you will, to move things along. Where it's like, oh, he was here, but now he's over there. Let's go over there to find him. Oh, but now he's over here. Let's go over here. It's that's not enough to carry a good movie. I think the script really lets us down in that regard. And also the personal quest aspect of it. If it had just been one or the other, because there's kind of two quests on this. One, Supergirl gets involved with these brigands because, as I mentioned, Crypto, the Superdog gets injured, and he, the only way to heal him is with these brigands. So she goes, great. But there's this other side quest with a character named Ruthie, played by Eve Ridley, who I don't blame this actress. She does the best she can with this material, but she's such a bland character. I am so sorry. This is terrible writing overall. They don't give her enough, they give the bare minimum for what her quest is, and this is just not a great thing. And I'll get into some specifics in my spoilers talk, but, what they were trying to do with this setup and these characters, I don't think they accomplished. And and I will say there's certain Western tropes associated with this. I'm gonna, to cover specifics in the spoiler talk, but this is not, these kind of things, it is not pulling off, as far as I'm concerned. So, is this a good, superhero movie? I would say this is definitely low, bottom half, but I can't say there's nothing to be enjoyed from this. Like I said, there's a great fight scene in the middle on a space bus that I think is entertaining enough and is unique enough where I could say, yes, this is a fun action scene. And like I said, the acting from Millie Alcock and Jason Momoa are great things to see. But aside from that, I can't say this is something that I would recommend seeing in theaters. I would recommend seeing it once this hits the streaming services, HBO Max, whatever. But I don't think this is the one to bring you out into theaters per se. So as far as the DCU goes, we gave, I think as a most part, we gave the first Superman kind of all right, you got this one. Well, let's see what else you got. This is the what else, and this is not a great second step. So if I was going to give Supergirl 2026 a letter grade, I would say this is a C-. And if I was going to weigh this in on the scale of unoriginality, I would say this weighs in at less than original. You've seen it before, but it could be worse. So those are my main spoiler-free thoughts on Supergirl. Now let's get into spoiler talk at certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. As I alluded to, there's certain Western tropes on this where, you have, and from the setting, you can tell that they're trying to go with the Western aesthetic where, there's a frontier sort of aesthetic when it comes to when we see Ruthie's family's estate. The bandits come to rob the house, and then they kill him and set the place on fire. And she goes to the nearest saloon where Supergirl happens to be, and she's still looking for someone to help her to take him out. And I feel like this is trying to be like a Logan sort of scenario, where you have the older, superpowered character, helping the young girl to avenge her family, or get him to safety, or there's also that mentor-mentee relationship going on here. But I feel like what it ended up being closer to is the first season of the Halo series on Paramount Plus, which is not a good thing because that character was incredibly bland. The main thing was like, oh yeah, your parent, your father's dead, and you go seek out our main hero, and then you team up to get revenge. It's like, okay, what else is, it doesn't expand beyond that other to just say, all right, your family's dead and you want revenge. Cool. What else you got? Nothing? All right. And it's like I said, great disservice. I think the script really let them down on that front, because, like I said, trying to be a Logan ended up being a Halo, and there, like I said, there's probably other examples to be had there, but that's kind of where I landed on this one. And then, speaking of that revenge dynamic, you can kind of the overall lesson, a lesson that you can have where, it's like, oh, revenge is, don't go killing them, because, you'll end up being like them. He's going to haunt him for the rest of your life. Have your life be your revenge. It's like, it's all well and good. And then, she goes around and ends up killing the guy anyway. And it's like, all right, yeah, you saved her. But then what does that say about you? And it's like, okay. This is the kind of thing that Deadpool was pretty much making fun of, back, almost 10 years ago now. With the whole revenge thing, where it's like, oh yeah, no, don't kill him. It's like 4 or 5 moments to be a hero, and then you pull the trigger. It's like, you were droning on. It's like, we already had this sort of thing going on, and they were, this is the trope that's been, done to death, and we're making fun of it, and we're not adding anything new to this scenario. I guess what they added is, the combining with the, crypto needs the antidote kind of thing, and it's like, what else is, okay, that adds why she's on it, but, I think that they should have stuck with one or the other. That's it. And this whole, the girl side quest, if you had just cut out the whole, the Ruthie, getting revenge sort of thing, there's enough to be had here. She wants the antidote for her dog. You can also make it like a John Wick sort of situation where it's like, oh, you hurt my dog and I'm going to destroy you, your entire organization. They kind of do that, but then you got this other stuff weighing it down. Then you have the whole thing where, you've got the brides, the kidnapped brides being released, and that's, it's trying to do something there. But it comes and goes so quickly that it's like, why is this even here? Again, I think, going back to my spoiler-free thoughts, there's some good to be had in this, but I can't see myself going back to rewatch this time and time again. So, taking that what you will, what did you think of Supergirl? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree? Disagree? Did I miss something? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next movie review, which I believe the next one I can commit to is for The Odyssey, which comes out July 17th, I believe. So be sure to look for that. And if you like this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.